Hi, welcome to Pro Shop Talk. My name is Daniel. I'm the technical director here at RW Supply & Design. Today we get to talk about alternative stains, which is a really interesting topic for me because it's kind of a new area within the sand and finish world. Specifically, I'm talking with Dee from Bona. He's the training manager for Bona. He is also an ex-contractor, and his job is to train contractors in their products, and he's really the technical expert in their products. So welcome on board, Dee.
Thanks, Daniel. Glad to be here.
Yeah, for sure. So this is a topic I'm really interested in because alternative stains is one of those things that's kind of a new shiny area of sand and finish. Stains are a product that haven't changed for a long time, and I think a lot of guys look at current stains, oil-based stains or oil solvent stains, and they think, if it isn't broke, you know, why should I try and fix it? Why should I try to learn a new, potentially harder system and that kind of thing? So a lot of these stains coming on board that are a little bit different are a little bit of a challenge for guys to think about. So you guys have just introduced or are kind of limited releasing your water-based stain, which is called Chroma.
Yes, sir.
And I've been fortunate enough to see it and work with it a little bit. And so today I was hoping that we'll just kind of talk through that system, and then after this, take whatever info you give me and try to struggle with it a little bit on a panel myself. So, you know, the first question I'd ask is, you guys have a good stain. You have a good oil solvent stain. I've worked with it plenty. Guys have worked with it plenty. Why should somebody consider moving from that to a new product that's different to apply with Chroma as a water-based stain?
Yeah, I would say probably the biggest thing is just the low to no VOCs. You know, and I would say it's pretty much could possibly be driven by the VOC laws. I mean, but, you know, I would say, like with anything new, it takes some getting used to. And so, you know, there's just certain markets where, you know, they have these exemptions already in place to where it seems like they're moving towards no oil-based products. But it's just, man, I think the best way I can say is, man, when you use it and you realize that, you know, you don't smell the fumes, you don't have to be so concerned about, you know, where your stain rags are going. That's probably going to be, you know, two of the biggest features, I would say, but really the look of it too. Pretty impressed. I've seen some water-based stains in the past and how difficult they were to work with in terms of lap lines, things like that. I was really impressed when I first saw this thing come out and how, you know, the ease of use and how well it, I mean, the color, I mean, the vibrant color. I was kind of, you know, concerned about that in the past. You just didn't get that vibrancy. But this, it gives you that. So.
Gotcha. Okay. This is a different product to work with for sure than other classic stains or even other alternative stains that we're talking about in this series. So the first thing I'd say is Bona has really good videos online for how to apply the product. So I'd encourage anybody to go out and take a look at those videos for sure, because probably as much as you and I are going to talk about it today, it won't be a substitute for visually seeing what's going on, but we're still going to struggle our way through it. So in terms of the application of Chroma, walk me through how I should apply that to a floor. So first of all, it's water-based, so we don't need a water pop.
Correct.
We're just going to finish our sanding at, what, 100, 120 grit, somewhere in there?
Yes, sir.
Just like we would for a normal stained floor. So now I got my floor sanded, don't need a water pop. How am I going to put Chroma down?
Yeah, so, and just to reiterate, I mean, the videos are great. We've done some, frequently asked question videos and just the product overview videos. So yeah, please feel free to check those out. But yeah, 120, like you would any other floor, you know, vacuum, tack, Tampico brush. But the application would be, you'd roll it on. Just a roll-on application. Just really wetting the floor out. And as you mentioned, because it is a water-based, and we really didn't even want to call it a water-based stain. I don't even know if it says that on our labels, but it's really a coloration system because we didn't want guys to think that, oh, it's just like putting down stain, because it is different, as you had mentioned. So, but yeah, you roll it out, just, making sure you get good coverage. It's almost like you really don't want to see the wood grain as much. With some of the darker colors, it'll just kind of cover. So just making sure you're, putting enough down. And then, you're letting it soak in. I mean, just as you finish wetting out the area. And we say work sections at a time too, Going wall to wall would be nice, but you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself. So you're working that section down the wall. Roll it out, wiping up the excess, just kind of, with a towel kind of wrapped around the mop base. And you're just trying to remove some of the excess so that when you go to buff, it's not taking you longer to really massage that in and to really get it removed. So, that's really the simple part of, hitting the field. For around the perimeter, depending on how close your buff, you can roll it pretty close to the wall, but, to prevent from getting it on baseboards or getting it onto the wall, you would just do a simple rag on, rag off technique to kind of move you away from the wall as you get into to buffing it in. So.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm going to work in a section. So we're going to cut in the walls with the rag on, rag off, and then you want to roll on the field part, the section in the field with, I think is it a small nap roller?
Yes, our candy strap rollers is about maybe 3/8, so it's almost like the same with our finishing roller, but we have that microfiber roller. I probably wouldn't want to waste one of those versus a nice little candy strap,
Gotcha.
3/8 inch roller.
So I'm gonna roll that out on the floor, and it's almost gonna be like painting the floor and really saturating that. And then the next step, you said I'm gonna come back and wipe a good amount of that up with a rag.
Right, and that's going to depend on the heavier you put it down than you do, because you don't have to put it down like, some guys will put it down too heavy. And I would say with some of our darker colors, the heavier you put it down, you do want to wipe off the excess. With some of our lighter colors, you don't have to put it down as heavy, and you may not have to wipe it off. But best practice would be wipe off the excess so that there's less of it there for you to have to kind of keep buffing in to massage it in. So, but wiping it off with any terry cloth, mop base wrapped around, and just wiping off that excess is what we'd like to see.
Gotcha. And this isn't like wiping off an oil-based stain where you're trying to get all the product off. You're just trying to wipe the majority of the excess off.
That is correct. Yeah, You're not trying to totally wipe it down like you would an oil-based stain, but just the heavy excess buildup. So you'll have some left, which is fine, because all that's going to get massaged in, which would be the next step.
Okay, so let's go on to that next step. You're then getting on it with a buffer?
Yeah, so you're getting on it with a buffer, kind of moving, at a fairly slow rate, because we want to try to massage that color into it as you go over it the first time, but then you come back over it the second time, and then you'll start moving a little bit faster. That way you don't really want to cause it to heat up on you. You can kind of feel it maybe getting sticky, so you just kind of move a little bit faster as you after the massaging in, because now you're kind of just trying to blend it in to where you don't see swirls being left anymore. It lets you know that you've gone over it enough.
Okay, so we're buffing it. What kind of pad are we buffing it with? What kind of pad do you want to buff it with?
Yeah, it's a white polishing pad.
Okay, so the thick white pads?
Yes, I think 1 inch thick is what it is.
Okay, and you said you buff it once to massage it in, then that second time you're going across, you want your pad to be clean, and that's where you're backing out of the space and you want it to look consistent, right?
And that's the key, just a consistent look. So yeah, you're right. You don't want your pad to be too saturated, because as you're going through that second phase, you're just really looking to kind of take off some excess, and it's really, those polishing pads, it's not, it's kind of massaging it in more and kind of drying it up. So, but you'll notice that the pads can get loaded up, and that's what you want to try to prevent, putting a loaded up pad as you're taking it off, so that it has a chance to really just smooth and blend things out.
Gotcha. How would I know that my pad is too loaded and I need to switch to either the other side or new pad.
Yep. So while you're massaging it in, it can start flinging if it gets too loaded up. But as you're, wiping it down and moving a little faster, if the swirl, I don't say swirl slurry is not being removed, then you'll know that, your pad's probably too loaded, so you'd want to switch that out.
Okay. And then once I get done with that section, do I just back up and start rolling new section?
Yes, that's correct. So just have some overlap, and into the new section, just a little bit of an overlap, and you just start with your new section.
Gotcha. And in that overlap, does that new product kind of reactivate the old so that you can buff it all consistently together?
That's exactly what it does. That's what prevents it from lapping up. So it'll definitely reactivate where you've stopped, the first section into the new section. So yeah, it kind of it blends in a lot easier by reactivating it.
Gotcha. What's the dry time once I back my way out of a house?
2-hour dry time, and that's huge against the oil-based. Even though we have a quick dry, 2-hour dry time oil-based product, you can be assured this water-based product, so it's going to dry in 2 hours. So that's another great feature of this product versus some colors in the oil-based. It may be a 12 to 18 hour overnight, 6 hours white. All of our colors are a 2-hour dry time with this.
2-hour dry time. Okay.
Yes.
And is there any limitation on what I can coat over the top of it? Can I put all water-based, oil-based, whatever?
Yeah, so what's different with this product is that you must seal it. You have to put one of our water-based sealers over this product. And again, the sealer choice would depend on the look you're going for. I think that the best sealer to put over is going to be our the new Bona Clear Seal. Mm-hmm. That way you're not changing the look at all. But yeah, this product does not have sealing properties, so therefore you have to put a sealer over it prior to putting finish over it.
Okay, gotcha. Is there ever a reason or even a way to do 2 coats of this stuff, or is 1 coat?
Yeah, 2 coats not going to do much for you. Unlike oil-based, it may take on a little bit color, but even with the oil-based, 2 coats don't do much for you. So yeah, it's second coat will reactivate it in case you saw any. I think we'll get into talking about maybe repairs, but it's not going to do much for you in terms of color. So we really don't. I would say best practice is not to do 2 coats.
Gotcha. So tell me about repairs. Is this going to be similar to traditional stain repair?
Yeah, so I guess depending on what stage you need to get back on it to repair, if you notice something in the floor, and you can just repair it just taking a dampened rag with water. So water will reactivate it. But if you had to, because it's water popping, it's really not going to see scratch type of repairs. But yeah, just by rubbing more on and wiping it off is really the easiest way to, repair. Like if you had a heavy mark that you left there and it kind of, stiffened up, then you can just kind of reactivate it with either with more stain or, I keep calling it stain, but that colorant, or you can reactivate it with just a dampened rag with water will kind of help break that up. And that's why it's important that, it's sealed to kind of help lock in the color. But there's also that second component, which is, the colorant additive that kind of helps seal it so that water won't reactivate it.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that was another difference with this is you do have a second component. So when a contractor grabs the jugs, make sure he's got a second component.
Correct.
And isn't just going out and pouring the one on the floor. So if you have a light spot in the floor, can you just mix up some new stain and rub it on that spot and blend it in, or?
Yeah, you would want to put more stain on there, and yeah, it'll reactivate it and take on more color. Although I said a second coat doesn't do much for you. I guess if you kind of had a mist area, then that second coat would help to kind of darken that up.
And I would assume with that process, like you're working in sections, how far ahead would you want to cut in areas if you had a cut-in guy working it?
Ooh. Temperature and relative humidity, of course, is going to play a big role in that. And I would say probably as far as away from the wall towards you, as much as you can reach, but as far as going side to side, I really don't even know if we state that on the can, but you'll kind of, I don't even want to guess at it, but you just don't want to get too far of a reach out to where it starts to, harden up or dry up on you. And
Gotcha.
so I honestly can't answer exactly what that square footage point would be, but I would say definitely watch our video. I mean, I'm sure they'll talk about it more on that. Unfortunately, I don't know that right offhand.
So I think it'd be safe to say if you're cutting in, only cut in as far as the next section in the field you're going to do, right? You don't want your cutting guy to start working way past you.
And that's correct with, I mean, just about anything, water-based, oil-based, or even our finishes. Don't let your cutting guy get, like, he would never cut in the whole run when you're working at a section. So as you're working that section, and probably as you're getting ready to finish with that final buffing, then he or she should start cutting in the next section.
Gotcha. Is this the type of system you would recommend there being at least 2 guys on, or can a single guy put it down?
Things are always a lot easier with 2 guys, but a single guy could do it. I mean, you have enough open time to where, if you had to cut in, then you had to jump back up there. 1 guy could do it, but it's always easier with 2. So really, I'm not saying that, you have to have a second guy. A single guy can definitely do it by himself.
Gotcha.
And again, it's just that learning curve of just being comfortable with it. And I think that the more and more comfortable guys get with it, they'll realize that, 1 guy can do it by himself. You don't necessarily need 2 guys.
Gotcha. If I'm backing my way out of a complicated layout, can I walk on it while I'm working with the product?
You can. I think, you just want to be careful, of course, not tracking that into another type of floor. But just, if you have to get back on it, as long as you're just kind of going back over, your footsteps to make sure everything blends in, not a problem at all.
Gotcha. So I can back my way out of a hallway by having the buffer be the last thing to touch the floor as I'm walking back out on the product.
Correct.
Okay. I know you said you didn't want to refer to it necessarily as a water-based stain, but with it not being oil-based, do I have any concerns throwing all my stuff in a bag and throwing it in the trash, or am I going to burn something up with that?
Not at all. And that's a great feature for, having this water coloration system is that, it's water-based. So there are no solvents whatsoever. So there is no concern with just putting in a bag. And whether you take that bag with you or leave it there, you can sleep well knowing that you're not going to be starting a fire with this product.
Yeah. And also sleeping a little bit better without the oil in your nostrils all night.
That's true too. I mean, like I say, little to no VOCs with this product is a huge selling point, for the contractors as well as for their customers.
Here's a difficult question. It is a learning curve because it's a different application method, but if a guy can get through that learning curve, do you think there's a significant difference in time and labor between this and a classic oil solvent stain?
Most definitely time. I mean, to know that you can get back on it in 2 hours is huge. But as far as the application wise, I think guys are going to struggle initially and thinking that, man, I could have just rag on, rag off my oil-based stain and be done. Whereas this, it's a little bit more of a process. I mean, there's, of course, more steps involved, but not if you're going to be water popping oil-based, because now you get, that's a step, and you have to let that water dry, and we say minimum overnight just to make sure that the floor is dry. And then you have your technique here. You're getting that water popping happening in the step of putting it down. So, I would think that just walking through it, talking through it, and seeing it, you think, oh man, that's a lot more complicated. But it's just that learning curve, like with anything. I mean, guys were T-barring water-based finish, and now guys are learning how to roll and love the roller. And it took them a while to kind of, even though it seems pretty simple. But this, I would say, definitely you want to try it. Of course, not on a big job for the first time. But just to get comfortable with the process. And then, like with anything, I think once you're used to it, I think more and more guys will move away from oil-based stain.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, question I always ask, guys are going to find creative ways to mess things up. And with this product, it's a new product with that learning curve. What are the easiest things they can avoid that might be a pitfall to it coming off successfully?
Yeah, just, don't overload your pads. I mean, you don't want to start flinging product and, working that section at a time. That way it doesn't start to dry up and harden up on you. And then don't overwork it too. The more you overwork that excess product, I mean, not only can you get some flings, but it can start hardening up on you. It's almost like you're heating it up the longer you stay on it. So besides that, I mean, the cleanup is easy. Even if you get some on the baseboards, just wiping that down with water comes off really easy. But yeah, again, like with anything, just be consistent in everything that you do, but don't overwork it. You don't want those pads kind of getting stiff onto the floor because of you overheating that floor. I mean, heat is not I just say heat is what's caused by you just staying in one spot too long, but just kind of keep it moving, and I think you'll be fine.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to give this another try and get on a panel with it and test the claims that you make with it, but that's the next step. We're going to actually crack some gallons and start coloring the floor.
All right.